B12. Spend the summer with the tribe on the res. Adopted out cause res life was bad when I was born and I'd have probably died from gang activity by now if they hadn't sent me away. Uncle is teaching me shit about being a medicine man cause my dad whose job that would have been is dead. Literally the first exposure to anything actually native. Goes okay for the most part. Has me help with setting up the lodge for a Sundance. Part of the setup is taking a boatload of burning ash and sage and bless a circle roughly 1 mile in radius from the lodge. Apparently this is new cause shit's happened the last few years and my uncle got some vision or something that this was the cure to the problem. Uncle up until the lodge focused heavily on proper decorum and prayers for the Sundance. Pulls me aside when we're setting camp up. Tells me to never leave camp alone or without sage. Apparently this is common practice but I'm new so I figure he's just making sure. Says if anything happens I can't explain or doesn't seem right I run as quick as I can back to the lodge no stopping. Things go fine for the first day and I'm mostly kept busy by various chores. Uncle's the presiding elder so he gets to be a firekeeper, singer, and blesser for 3 days straight no sleeping cause the other 5 elders are dancers. I'm his assistant essentially and protege so I'm basically allowed some sleep in the morning prior but that's it. Firekeeping turns out to be Uncle, 5 older guys, a 20-something, another kid roughly my age, and me shooting the shit around the fire keeping it alive. Fire's not allowed to burn out or else we have to strike camp, move at least several miles away, leave a skin offering, and start the 3-day Sundance all over. Shit's bad cause that would probably end the older dancers so best keep the fire fed and alive. We've all been drinking coffee to stay fresh so sometime later at night nature calls. Me, kid my age, and 20-something go to take a leak. The Native Americans believed their souls could be picked off their scalps and trapped in nightmares if they stumbled in certain places, most especially on staircases. And so it was practiced to never close your eyes while walking down a staircase or walking up a hill, so that you could see yourself stumbling and catch yourself before your spirit slips. Blessed ground so can't desecrate it. Have to walk the mile to the borderline. About 3/4 ths the way their 20-something stops us.
You guys seeing that?
Not sure how I missed it but there's 5 lights out in the tall grass about 3-ish miles off in the prairie. Looks like someone left a lantern out there essentially. Far off and on the neighbor's land so whatever. Get to the border and just decide to piss over it. Just get started when 20-something starts wildly smacking my back and pointing.
Dude, what the fuck?
Already edgy cause it was dark and I still had a mild fear of it back then. Him wildly smacking me makes me panic just enough I sort of wildly whip my head around. Finally focus to see Terry's more circles of light than I can count offhand, swirling around but absolutely on this side of the road and about 1.5 miles closer. Takes maybe a second to realize they're getting closer pretty fast. Takes maybe a second for them to reach us. Don't remember anything up until I'm running my ass faster than I ever ran, before up to the lodge and hurriedly bless myself and the other 2 with sage. Uncle's pissed to shit asking where we've been and to keep it down cause we just ran screaming into camp and are waking the dancers. Don't even remember what I said but it was something along the lines of 2 kids and a grown-ass man gibbering over each other about something in the grass and how it's in the border now. Last bit sets Uncle off. Tells us to stay put and to keep the fire lit. He runs off to tell everyone to stay inside their trailers or tents. Comes back maybe 20 minutes later. Says to stay close to the fire and just not worry about it. Maybe 10 minutes later one of the older guys pipes up.
Don't panic, but it's above us.
Obviously everyone looks up. Don't see it at first. Notice this triangle of black where you can't see the stars or Milky Way. Dancers are getting edgy asking what the hell is it. Uncle starts joking. Says it's an UFO and shines his huge searchlight on it. Whole place hums and vibrates hard. Okay, I'll just stop that then. Turns the damn flashlight off. I'm starting to panic cause at first I thought it was just fuck huge but really high up. Flashlight showed it's maybe 10-ish feet higher than the lodge. Rest of the night is pretty much the same. Sky starts to turn blue. Hear the hum but no vibration. At around 3 miles per hour it starts to drift away over the hill and out of sight. Uncle won't let anyone leave until it's full light out. Earn a good rest that day so I sleep from sun up until sundown when I gotta do firekeeping again. Body's aching me but whatever. Here at the fire the other 2 guys and half the families left while I slept. Not sure when but someone just makes a shushing noise and points up. Damn thing's right the fuck above us again. Does the same shit the second it starts getting light out. Been laying down all night cause I wasn't feeling great. Second I stand up I fall back down and vomit. Another day of resting and I wake up for fire duty again. Grandma says I got sunburned from the day before so my back and shoulders are now covered in something that smells like a skunk and I still feel shitty. Managed to get through fire duty alright despite the damn thing coming back again and the camp's electricity going dead sometime during the night. Back's not even feeling too bad now either though I still feel sick. Uncle pats me on the back for a job well done. Hurts so bad I black out. Wake up in the hospital. Not sure what. It's a res hospital, they aren't the best. But doc says I was pretty sick with something and had been out for 4 days. A good patch of skin on my shoulders, neck, and back had sunburned so bad they had to debride several inches of skin. Vacation ends pretty quickly after that as I was healthy enough for the transfer back home. Docs back home say it's definitely not sunburn but just a plain burn and by blood's platelet count is scarily low. Risk a skin graft on my thigh for the debrided area. Turns out I can add minor flash burns to both my corneas. Heal up relatively well once the new symptom of coughing up blood subsided. Probably due to the platelet count, doc said. After a year or so I remember a bit more. Only really remember up to the lights hitting then everybody screaming. Distinctly remember the burning and me falling to the ground. Only remember screaming up to the part where I'm just outside the camp sprinting in. Life goes on for a bit with some nightmares. New therapist says it's just some basic PTSD from my fight with illness I wasn't fully conscious for. Nightmares are just lights, pain, and screaming like I remember. Family decides I should still go back to the res every summer. Second I'm off the plane grandma drives 7 hours to uncle's house. Uncle has a sweat lodge and everything set up waiting. Haven't even mentioned the dreams outside adoptive family but the second uncle sees me he asks how often I've been having dreams. Tell him it's about once a week. Says we gotta hurry then. A whole night of prayers with the elders. Takes skin sacrifices off my shoulders and rubs sage and ashes into them. Don't really remember much as I was 13 and our tribe burns herbs in sweats. Dreams stop but every year something weird happens to or around me at the lodge though nothing crazy like the first time. Found out later no one saw the lights or heard the screaming and we were gone for around an hour when it should have been maybe 10 minutes round trip. Only time people heard us was when we were wildly flailing trying to get into the lodge. No one else outside the lodge saw the triangle but then again they'd basically been quarantined. In the decade since I've seen the same lights elsewhere like on the lake or in the woods on camping trips, always with someone else. But nothing ever came of it and I've never seen the triangle since. Weird shit still happens on my property but it seems to stay calmish so long as my dogs are on the property but I've since thought about moving back to the res to try and figure all this shit out and maybe take my uncle up on actually learning to be a medicine man. TL. Doctor shit happened that scared me so bad I'm willing to leave my white bread comfy life to go live on the res and protege as a medicine man.
Be me staying at old grandpa's rural farm near Beresford, South Dakota. Grows corn and has a big old piece of land. Great for pheasant hunting so we come visit. Small trailer style house me and young brother. Grams leaves me and brother alone while he goes to the nearest bar at night. He's a drunk so we know he's going to come back late. Fuck around in the house and watch TV for a few hours. Start hearing cracking like someone's driving their car through the cornfield. The family lab is going ridiculous howling. Sit at window in fear because no car lights and it really sounds like something big is smashing through the 6 feet corn. Brother's trying to get a hold of Grams through the local bar since he doesn't have a cell. I'm looking out the window and the sound has stopped. In the moonlight I clearly see 2 all-white figures crawl out of the cornfield. These things look like fucking Gollum. All white, no clothes, with really long arms on all fours. At this point I got my brother to get me my hunting 12 gauge, way too spooked. They're like sniffing the air or something. I open our front door slowly and instantly they fucking turn and stare with these huge black eyes I'll never forget. Let off a 3/2-inch shell at them and one lets out this inhuman squeak. I fired from our doorway to the field at like 30 yards or so. Both run back into the corn crazy fast, making like hyena sounds. About 2 hours later drunk Gramps shows up drunk as shit. Slurring and damn near incoherent. Ask him about what I just saw and he instantly sobers up. Insists we must be imagining shit and cuts our hunting trip short, sending us back. What did I fucking shoot?
Me and sister home alone with babysitter one day. Our parents were out gathering sage, cedar and whatnot, playing with toys. Suddenly we felt scared for no reason. We look in the hallway, suddenly a man in a trench coat and top hat came rising up through the floor. We froze and just stared. One side of his skin and clothing was black, the other half white. After he disappears we run downstairs and tell the sitter what we saw. She freaks out and gets us ready to leave the house. On our way out we saw the same thing at the front door, smiling and waving. Sitter saw it too. It disappeared and she threw us in the car and left the house in a panic. She told my parents what happened. Then my dad and his friends did some native cleansing and whatnot. Never saw it again, or the sitter. She says the house is too creepy for her. There's some other stuff involved with the house, but I could only think of this off the top of my head.
Be me. Be 16. Be at cousin's house. It's a 2-bedroom cabin on the lake in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of summer. A rainy and cloudy day. My auntie and her BF leave. They usually go to the bar and are gone all night. It's just me, my older cousin and my younger cousin. Youngest one is like 14. We sit in my cousin's room. We play video games and smoke pot. It starts to get dark. It starts to thunderstorm. The fucking power goes out. We're just sitting in the dark. Go find some flashlights. The storm gets worse. We just sit there forever talking and laughing. Out of boredom we decide to tell scary stories. Spend what seems like forever telling scary stories to each other. Storm dies down. Still no power thou. Start to hear noises in the house. May. It's an old cabin. Out of nowhere we hear what sounds like a dog growling in the kitchen. We don't own a dog. My cousins start freaking out. My lil cousin starts tearing up. My older cousin stands up. He yells, "Get out of my house. You're not welcome here." We hear a howling wind. Sounds like the wind crashed into the bedroom door. I'm frozen with fear. Me and my lil cousin are huddled together on the bed. The lights turn on. Power is back on. We all walk into the kitchen/living room. Nothing is there. All the doors and windows are locked. Get freaked out. We start blowing up my aunt's cell phone. She doesn't answer. We stay up all night. We keep all the lights on. My older cousin says, "I didn't want to scare you guys earlier, but I've seen a massive shadow at the end of my bed one night." I was frozen with fear, but I started screaming in my head, then eventually out loud. I said, "Get out. Leave me alone." And it did. Next day my auntie comes home. My cousin bitches at her for not answering. Tell her what happened. She believes us. Says, "I'm sorry son. I'll get us some sage today." She really didn't have cell service. No one gets cell service on the Rees. Anyway, I go back to my cozy safe home that day. My cousin and auntie sage their house down. Our local medicine man tells them to hang cedar above the doors. He'll smoke the pipe later and pray for them. They never had a spooky problem in that house again. They move a couple years later because the cabin is falling apart. I've seen a big shadow a couple years later in my room. Random spooky things keep happening to me every few years. May thus is life. My whole family believes in ghosts and spirits.